Hey guys, welcome to day one, part one of our new series, Radical Prayer. You might be able to tell I am pumped up about talking about what it means to truly pray and what prayer can do in the realm that really matters. That's the spiritual realm. And I want to start off this series just by telling you a little bit of my history with prayer. Prayer really became important to me when I was 18, 19 years old. I think I was 19 or 20 years old. And it was the summer after my junior year in college. And I went to Argentina and Brazil with a mission organization called Operation Mobilization. I spent 2 months on one of their big ships. There was 200 people on the ship. I washed dishes all day, 11, 12 hours a day, went out at night and, would give food to the hungry, clothes to people who need clothes, showed a Jesus film, did some kind of skit or drama, would preach, whatever it might be with groups of people. And but every morning from 1:30 in the morning to about 7 in the morning, I'd run for 30 minutes around the top of the ship. I think I did like 50 laps because it was so tiny. And then I would pray. I'd read my Bible and pray for about, I guess that would be 5 hours. And it wasn't because I was like super spiritual or super Christian or anything like that. I was pretty desperate for God. I was really, not sure. I was trying to find myself. I was trying to find if God could help me, could comfort me during this time of being away from home for the first time. So that was my first. My second was when I first went to Taiwan, 22, 23 years old. And I experienced all this stuff in the church that I never experienced before growing up Baptist, right? And we could get all into that in a different series. But the point is, I was like, whoa, God, like clearly I've been missing out on all of you, right? And we only get like a tiny little percentage of God, before we get to heaven, of course, here on earth. But anyway, the point was I spent 5-6 hours a day for maybe a year. It was 6 to 12 months on my knees, on my bed, just hands open, just praying, listening to God on my knees in silence. So that was a lot more of just, definitely reading my Bible for 30 or 45 minutes, but then it was hours of just waiting on God in prayer. Once again, not super spiritual, not super Christian, just super curious, like, God, who are you? And then about 5.5 years ago, I spent about 9 to 12 months, about 9 to 10 hours a day on my knees. Now, you might be like, there aren't 9 to 10 hours in the morning, like where you're working. What? I didn't sleep a lot of nights, okay? It was through most of the nights. Once again, not at all super spiritual. I'd actually kind of gone away from God to some significant degree, and it was really a coming back to God and Him drawing me back to Himself. And the only sweet place, the only place of peace and comfort, the only place of just joy at that moment, especially for those first few months of that kind of 12-month period, was just with God, on my knees with God, my head buried, in this chair, just on my knees before God. Through the night, through much of the morning, etc. And then it eventually became just such a sweet, joyous time. It wasn't my only joyful place, but it was just like, wow, God, I love spending time with you. You're so real. I love meeting with you. And some incredible things happen during that time. When you spend that much time with God and you listen for that long, He took me up, I believe, to heaven, right? And He gave me some, you could call them visions, right? Or some experiences with Him. Some other things happened. But the point was, it was so sweet. It was so real. It was so tangible. It was so visible. There was such a connection. And then recently, in the last 10 to 11 months, God's really been drawing me back into that and even deeper into Himself, and really been saying, intimacy is the key, right? It doesn't matter what God's plan is for me. What matters is His heart for me. I don't really need to know His plan for me as long as I know His heart for me and His love for me, right? God is not so interested in using me as He is in loving me. And it's in that place when I'm on my knees before Him, right? I mean, we don't just stay there all day, of course. Get me, just understand me clearly. We want to go out and love others and make an impact and serve and make a difference, hopefully. But it all starts with that intimacy with Him and on our knees with Him. And then the last part I want to say as we just set up the rest of the series in this week is that God has challenged me, and He said, if my greatest commandment is to love God and to love others, why have you in the past spent most of your time in prayer praying for yourself, for your family, maybe for your ministry, your business, the things that interest you, But why have you not spent a majority of the time praying for other people and people who can't bless you or do anything for you, but just loving others, and the people that, you in the past have been angry, towards or unforgiving towards, hopefully forgive them and not be angry anymore, right? Or the people who don't like you, or don't treat you well, or the people you don't know well, or whatever it might be. Why not spend the majority of your time praying for them? So I just want to set this up and say, there's been seasons of prayer, and we're going to talk through those in this series for me. And prayer is so sweet, but it can only happen with God's power. And then lastly, prayer is one of our greatest ways, maybe the greatest way we can lay our lives down for others and love others. And I want to talk about more of that this week, but that's just setting it all up and hopefully getting us excited about the greatest place we can spend our time, the sweetest place we can spend our time, on our knees, face down, in prayer, in communing with our Creator and our Father and our God. All right, thanks guys.